Hi, I'm Streaky from Streaky.com. Today is hashtag Ask Streaky Q&A day. It's Friday, so let's go. So if you're new here, I'm Streaky. I'm a mastering engineer, been mastering for about 25 years, super high end, super low end, everybody in between. I'm here every day talking about hi-fi, speakers, room correction, anything to do with audio basically, pro audio equipment. And on a Friday, I answer your questions that are usually in the comments from either today's Q&A session or throughout the week when it's a question on something that I'm reviewing or talking about or whatever. So now straight on to question number 1, which is from Danny Zyra, I think, Zyri. Hey Streaky, what listening volume do you recommend when mastering? Is it true that if it sounds better low, then it sounds better high? Also, does listening at louder volumes affect the overall room acoustics? Okay, so a few things on level. I try and keep a consistent level on mastering so I know when something's loud and when something's quiet, so that's really important. So when you're listening to your reference material, try and keep them at the same level. I've got a bit of equipment from 2400 Audio, which is great. It's just got programmable buttons, so I know every time it's exactly the same, which is great, because you can get volume creep as the day goes on. So you start off quiet and then you sort of, as you're getting into it more and more, it gets louder and louder and louder, and in the end it's so loud that you can't hear what you're doing. Level wise, yeah, of course the room gets totally involved the louder you go, because you're pushing more level into the room. You know, that's going to start bouncing around and start moving around, so the quieter you can keep things the better, which leads on to your first part of the question, which is if it sounds better quieter, then it's going to sound better louder. Now, a lot of mix engineers I know master at incredibly low volume, so low volume that you can just about hear it. The reason they do that is more for balance, so you can hear what's poking out and what isn't poking out, and if you can hear everything at a very, very quiet level, then you know you've got everything balanced in the mix. It's very good for listening to vocals, so you can just pop the vocal up a bit or whatever is the focus point at that point in the song. So yeah, just getting a kind of, you know, really, really quiet when mixing is really good for balance. For mastering, yeah, quiet is good just because your ears don't get tired if you're mastering all day. Loud feels good, but doesn't necessarily sound good because the room gets involved. You're going to start adding less top and more bottom the louder you go. That's the kind of thing. It's getting at a level that's kind of right, but not overly loud. You want to be able to hear the bass, but not so that it's making you want to take top off because that's too bright. So it's really about getting used to your room, getting used to the level, and just keeping it at a moderate level. There's no right or wrong. It's really what you like. I find that if the room and the speakers aren't great, you tend to want to monitor louder. I certainly have in the past monitored super loud just to get the speakers moving and something in front of me, so it kind of like is so loud the room hasn't even got a chance to get involved because it's just banging in my ears. It's really not great. You'll end up ruining your ears, and it's longevity. You get really tired working like that. So it's quite good just to have a kind of, the way I work is I have a kind of normal listening level where I can still talk over the top, but it's at a level that I can hear what's going on as if I was listening to a nice stereo at home. Stereo, how old am I? So hi-fi at home. And then I would want it so I can hear the bass. And then sometimes I might crank it a bit more for the low end if I'm sort of wanting to get into it a bit, but not really. I tend to kind of want it at a balanced level. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So next up is from Sunder Music, and he says yes to a masterclass. I was talking about maybe doing a course in the new year. We'll see how that pans out with my work schedule. I was wondering something. If you know what frequencies your ears are capable of hearing, could this also help out with what kind of monitors or headphones you buy? No. I think it doesn't help knowing what your ears can do. You know, you don't really think about your ears too much and about what they can hear and whether ones can hear louder levels at a certain frequency than another one. As soon as you start testing that, it really plays with your mind. I had those headphones where it did that, worked out different things. I was then sitting there thinking, oh yeah, it's definitely brighter on the right or warmer in the left or whatever it was. And it just plays with your mind too much. It's like tinnitus or anything else that's going on with your ears. The more you focus on it, the more you're going to focus on it. So you're best not focusing on it at all and trying to distract yourself, because it's not going to help you out. You need to be able to just listen and not think about what your ears are doing from a kind of, well, this one's brighter than this one, or warmer, or whatever it is. Just get on with it. Just listen. Don't worry about that kind of thing. The kind of speakers that you buy and the headphones you buy are personal taste, and really that's probably going to affect it, isn't it? Because you're going to like one speaker more than another. If your ears can handle really bright sounding speakers, then you're probably going to enjoy those more than somebody's ears that don't. So it's really a question of listening to the speakers, seeing if you like them. Do they play well in your room? Rooms are really important when it comes to speakers. So you have to make sure the speakers match your room, whether that's the size of the speakers or how loud they need to go or how much soundproofing you've got. That's really important, as well as the taste that you have in your ears, your palette, as I always talk about. And that palette is going to be adjusted to whatever headphones you like. So when I do reviews, it is all about me and about my taste and my palette and what I like and what I know is sort of natural and what I've trained myself over the years to how I listen to things. So when I give reviews, they're very personal, and I think that hopefully that helps you, because I have got a kind of trained ears, I guess. But really, listen for yourself, work it out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, don't get it. That's the kind of thing. If you're looking at a certain price points and certain companies, then you're going to expect a certain kind of standard and quality. So you know you're in that ballpark anyway, and then it's just a question of personal taste. Next up is from Aldi Nadaf. I'm sorry, I've definitely said that wrong. Hey Streaky, I've been mastering with the new BAX EQ and the Rupert Neve master bus processor for a year now. How does having a BAX at the beginning of the mastering chain or at the end of the mastering chain going to affect my sound, and how can I get the best from both? I've not used the Rupert Neve master, I think it's the Portico you're talking about. I wouldn't mind getting one in actually to check out. I've seen a couple of mastering places with it. I've been told that it's quite good. Can't give you any comment on it because I haven't listened to it. I'll get one in, I'll review it, and then I'll give you my 2 pence. The BAX I've had in my rack for probably 5 years now. I use it every day. I use it on most tracks. Where do I have it? I have it pretty much at the front. I don't have it completely at the front. I've got some kind of colour stuff and tubey things at the front. I use it to kind of, because basically anybody who's watching who doesn't know what a BAX is, it's like a car stereo where you've just got treble and bass, and you can select which frequency that is. It's just shelves that are like that, and they go on forever. They don't shelf, so they're not shelves, but they're kind of like that, if you know what I mean, where you can say, you know, smiley face, or you can minus it too. So really, I have it at the front of the chain because it just gives me a chance to go, okay, give us a load of top, give us a load of bass, or vice versa, before I get into any detailed stuff with a parametric EQ. I don't see why that would be any different at the end. It's quite nice. It's got a very nice high shelf on it, so it would be quite nice at the end. I've got other stuff for doing that at the end of my analog chain that's a nicer sound, I think, to the back, so I don't use it at the end. At the end, using an EQ after compression is quite nice to add a little bit of top end, because sometimes the compressor can bring that down, because you might be wanting to pull the bass down a bit and that brings the mids down, so you might want to add a bit more top towards the end just to open it up again. So it can be handy there, but I find a lot more use for it at the front, just for kind of really balancing the track out a little bit before I get stuck in and start compressing and EQing. So I hope that helps you with your BAX. Great bit of kit, all dangerous stuff, is superb. Next one is from Future Soul Audio. Why, when referencing my finished mastered tracks, mastered by me and level matched with commercially released tracks in my studio, my tracks sound fine, and also in my Viro van, don't know why it's some kind of van, but when I listen to referencing my Toyota Yaris, this is deep, my tracks break up and sound distorted. I'm not sure if that means something or not, but the nerd in me is going crazy to figure out. P.S. The commercial tracks sound fine in the studio, Virus and the Yaris. Okay, so you're having trouble with your stuff. Now, there could be frequencies going on in the super high and super low that you might need to cut out that you're not doing. As a mastering engineer who learnt on vinyl, I kind of have an ear for that straight away. I can hear if something's too sibilant. I can hear if something's too bright, if there's too much super highs. Because a lathe, when you're cutting to a lathe, doesn't like that. So naturally, I will do that as a mastering engineer. I'll probably cut some super low end at 20 Hertz and maybe some highs at 16K. You know, not all the time, so don't think, okay, that's what he does, that's it, because that's not true. If it doesn't need cutting, I don't cut it. But you need to be able to hear full reference monitors to be able to hear what's going on in the low end and if you need to take a cut in the low end. Can be stuff like that going on where maybe your car speaker can't handle that sound. It's usually that. Really, if you're going somewhere where the speaker's rattling, it's probably because the way that you've mastered it, you haven't controlled the sound enough at mastering to be able to then make it replay on every single type of speaker. It's definitely a trick that it's very hard for me to say in one answer how you do that, because it's a combination of a lot of things. But I would say it's really something about controlling the sound more, controlling what's going on in the super highs, super lows, and it's probably down to some limiting and things where you're kind of limiting in the wrong way. You're getting too much dynamic and it's not holding the sound enough, so the speaker's not replaying properly. It's all to do with how the speaker replays the sound, and as soon as you don't cut certain things off or don't have the whole sound moving as one track, then you're going to make the speaker kind of move in different directions, which is going to make it distort. That's my thought on it. Technically, I don't know why that is. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's why commercial tracks that have been mastered sound together and yours aren't sounding together. The best thing I could suggest is send me the track and I'll give you some advice on what's going on, really. It's very difficult for me to say without hearing the music. You know, anything could be going on, to be honest. And listening in a Toyota Yaris in the first place, maybe it's time you switch cars. Toyota Yaris, come on. So next up is DJ Action Vanquish. DJ Action. Like that. What's up, Streaky? I posted a few times. I was hoping to catch you this time. You've caught it. What circumstances have ever led you to tell the producer and mix engineer to take the track back into the studio for rework? Also, how many times have you done this in your career? So I've done it quite a few times. I'm the last port of call for a lot of mixers. So I build relationships with mixers and producers, and I'm there to be their kind of QC man. I mean, ideally, as I've always said, with mastering, you're trying to do nothing. So I'm just there for them to send me the track. I listen to it, I tweak it, I get it to the level they want it to get it to, and then I send it back. Now, at that point, I don't know until I'm getting stuck into the mix what it needs and what it doesn't. So if I'm going around the houses, then it's worth me turning around to them and saying, okay, look, I'm really having to try and quell this bass and really trying to sort of get the bass tighter. If you just dropped it by a dB, or if you the thing above it, if that just came down or if that went up, I really think I'll be able to get a better sound and I won't be compromising the rest of the track. Or, you know, certain times in a track, someone will do a filter and then, you know, your equipment starts distorting on that filter. Well, it's such a shame when that filter part, you know, for that 1 second is spoiling the whole sound for the rest of the track, because you've got to accommodate for that 1 second because you want the whole track to be one sound. So I'll go back, ask for that. If the mix engineer can't do the tweak that I ask them, then I'll get them to send me the stems so that I can then do what I need to do when I'm there. But I normally just master straight from stereo stuff because I'd rather have it how it was in their studio, how they can hear it, and so then I can hear what they're trying to achieve and then straight away, you know, get them the result that they want. So I do it if I need to do it. But yeah, does it happen a lot? Probably 1 in 100 tracks maybe. I have to go back and ask for tweaks or changes. But, you know, that's what I'm here for. That's part of my job, to be that kind of final port of call before it goes off. So I'm here to try and work with the producer or mixer to get the sound that they're after and to finish off the tracks. So yeah, it's really important. So that's it for Q&A this week. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments, #AskStreaky, and I'll answer them next week, hopefully. If you like this kind of thing and you haven't subscribed, then please ring the bell. I'm here talking about pro audio equipment, mixing, mastering. So anything you want to know from me, ask below and I'll try and answer it next week. If you haven't signed up already, go to streaky.com, sign up to the newsletter. It only comes out once a month. There's no spam, nothing like that. It's just a place where I can point you in the right direction of things that I see, find, have talked to other engineers about that I can't do on YouTube. Yeah, go to streaky.com, sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it once a month. So thanks for watching. Till next time, have a great weekend. Cheers, bye.